Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, and at last, welcome back to another live stream. I can only apologize that it's been so long. I think in June we only did 2 streams, which isn't good enough from me. I do apologize. I went away twice, been very busy with the World Cup, so I do have my excuses, but I am sorry about that. We are now back and ready to cover Manchester United properly over the rest of the summer. Whether that's transfer news or pre-season or tactics when we get there, we are now fully back with all of the Manchester United coverage and live streams as well. So apologies, but we're now back in action. Today we are starting off with Manchester United and sort of the transfer updates that we've seen over the past few weeks and where that leaves us and where we need to head next. Of course, we always have this idea of what we want a summer transfer window to be. We sit there honestly from as early as January really, and we speculate about the summer, the players would like to sign, the type of profiles that we need. I think Elliot Anderson was the dream one for most people, certainly myself included, but it looks like he's off to Manchester City. And then Matheus Fernandes was one that I really thought we'd get. I really did think we'd end up with him, and now he is off to Spurs. So for Manchester United, is it time to panic as fans? Is it time to panic and start to worry and become a little bit frantic? Or is it only the 3rd of July and not time to worry just yet? Let me know what you think in the chat, because I'm really interested to hear your thoughts today. We'll start off with Greg. Good morning to you, mate. I hope you're well. AJ, I am depressed. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you saying you're depressed. It's just awkward because I said, how are you? And then read the message. Depressed and losing faith in our recruitment team. Missing out or walking away from so many targets is very worrying. I don't necessarily think walking out on the targets is a huge worry. If anything, I think it's a good sign that we're not willing to overpay in the way that we have in the past. But I do certainly think missing out on the signings is a concern. It's clear that we liked these two, right? You know, Anderson and Fernandes more than everyone else in the market. It's clear that we liked those two, and I think they would have been a big part of our plan this summer. I would like to think that as a football club, we were always aware that getting Anderson would have been tough. I can almost imagine that Matheus Fernandes is a bit more of a blow for us, to be honest. But yeah, it's a shame, right? Because we get Champions League football. Well, first, Carrick comes in and does amazing. We get Champions League football. We've got all this hope and expectation for next season. And we're sort of waiting to see the signings that match our ambition, right? The ambition that us fans have, where we want this club to go. We're waiting to see Manchester United matching that. The only thing that's really happened so far is Edison, which hasn't sort of officially been confirmed yet, but it is done realistically. It's not really the ambitious signings that we're hoping for. My opinion at the moment is still, you know, it's the 3rd of July. Give it some time. I think it's always weird in a World Cup year as well. Recruitment is always a little bit difficult, especially players that are active at the tournament. I'm still calm for now. I'm still patient for now. But if in 2 weeks we're still in the same place, I'm going to start pulling my hair out. I mean, it won't matter because I'll have the hat to cover it. But yeah, a couple of weeks and I think I will start to be a little bit concerned, to be honest. Walked away from Anderson, Diamande, Tonali, Fernandes. Shocking. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. The only good thing is sort of the saving grace, and I've been saying this all year. If there is a year, particularly in midfield, to do your rebuilds, it is 2026, because there is a ridiculous amount of midfielders that are out there and available and of a seriously high level. You know, and people will go, but they're not Anderson's level. Well, 12 months ago, you wouldn't have said that. And people will go, Matheus Fernandes. Well, back in November, he was spoken about as sort of a 3rd choice midfielder rather than sort of a premium player that cost £85 million. So we might sign someone this year who doesn't amaze you right now, but I bet in 12 months they might. That's sort of how I see it currently. Why is there no World Cup content? Joe, there is World Cup content. If you check out the AJ Talks Tactics channel, I have shouted it out a few times in videos. Yeah, go on YouTube, search AJ Talks Tactics, and there is World Cup content. Particularly now as we get towards the round of 16 and the quarterfinals, that's really going to heat up, and we're going to try and cover as many games as possible. There are some games which have been a little bit dry at the tournament that we haven't covered. You know, England-Ghana wasn't an amazing one. You know, the Argentina game tonight, we'll see how it goes, whether or not we cover it. But we have covered a few games over on the second channel. So, yeah, make sure to go and check it out if you haven't already. I don't feel like the club understands what a marquee signing is. Yeah, I'm really torn personally. right? Because I think it's good that we aren't being sort of mauled about in the market. You know, that we're not bowing to the pressure of every club. Every time someone goes 80 million in the past, it feels like we'd have gone, fine, here's 80 million. I'm glad that we're not doing that we're not bowing to that pressure. But at the same time, success is expensive. It costs a lot of money to win trophies. And at some point, we do have to get our wallet out and go, all right, here's £80 million on this player. Right? That has to happen sooner rather than later, I think. I think the later in the market you go, we get towards August and September, I think players become even more expensive. So it's a dangerous game we're playing. But, you know, just think back to last summer, the Brian and Bumo deal seemed to go on forever at the time. But you look at the players that we ended up with, we're quite happy now. So for now, INEOS have my trust, but I'm ready to panic just in case I need to in a couple of weeks. Yes, son, thank you very much. Hope you're well, by the way. Guys, if you check the pinned message in the chat, there is a link to the AJ Talks Tactics channel. Like I said, that is where we are covering the World Cup. That's where next season we'll be covering a lot of the Champions League games not involving Manchester United. We'll do a little series later in the summer talking about how Spurs are going to set up next season. City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, all of those teams. So, yeah, make sure to check it out. You say it's the 3rd of July, but it takes us 4 weeks to get a deal done. At this rate, we start the season with the youth teamers because Mainu and Edison will be on holiday still after the World Cup. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I think we need to sign people. It's not panic stations for me yet. I don't actually know the start date of the Premier League this season. That might sort of affect how much I need to panic. I think there'll be things going on behind closed doors that we're not aware of. I think there's stuff going on, you know, behind the scenes that we're not fully aware of at the moment. I don't think it's a case of tomorrow we decide Scott is the one that we want and then it's a 4-week process. I would hope it can be a little bit quicker than that. I hope we're in a place where we've organised ourselves. We don't know, do we? Like, we've just sort of got to wait and see a little bit. I think last summer, INEOS earned a little bit of credit. I think they earned a little bit of credit in terms of, I think they sort of proved that they're going to take their time, that they're not going to overspend on people, and that they are going to get the right players through the door. I think. Boomer was quite expensive last year, weren't he? Morning, AJ. I think we should be looking at Johan Manzambi. Only 20, playing really good for Switzerland and had a good season with Freiburg. Yes, we did do a video on Manzambi a few days ago, 3 or 4 days ago. Check that out if you haven't already. Yeah, Manzambi's a great player. We first recommended him probably 3 months ago. We pointed him out before the World Cup started as one to watch. He's doing fantastically well, isn't he? He got another assist last night. He's been absolutely fantastic. Playing as sort of like this tennis attacking midfielder. Seems to have made the spot in the team his own now. So, yes, Manzambi is definitely one to watch. I think I personally would have seen him more as sort of that third midfield signing. You know, I don't see him as one of the 2 premium ones. Have we got that already now with Edison? I'm not sure. But yeah, he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I'm interested to see what's going to happen at the World Cup for him. He's done very well so far. Did Switzerland stay in? I'm sure they did. Let me just double check that so I don't sound like a complete muppet. Let's have a look. Did Switzerland progress last night? They did. 2-0 against Algeria. By the way, Klopp is apparently opening doors to become manager of Germany. Interesting. Spurs are yet another team to go for 2 all-action number 8s instead of a pivot. It's a tactical trend. Yeah, very much so. Very much so in the Premier League at the moment. We're not seeing, you know, as many players, as many clubs, where it's just one player sitting there. That's why I keep talking about Tchouaméni sort of being one of the only elite 6s that are about at the moment, because there's not that many. Most teams are playing with 8s. You know, you look at PSG, for example, the way that they play. There's not sort of that one holding, destroying, ball-winning midfielder, is there? It's a lot of 8s that sort of roam and combine. And that's how we played under Carrick last season. You know, we had Casemiro, who, in theory, on paper, is a 6, but he didn't play like one, did he? He spent a lot of time up in the opposition's box. I'm doing good. I hope you're well too, AJ. I'm not bad. I'm not bad at all. Thank you, son. And I'm glad to hear you're well. They signed a whole front line last summer. It's hardly a cheap approach. Let's not pander to people crying because we don't get their shiny new object for whatever price. Do you want to be Spurs? I mean, yeah, I'll tell you for free, I don't want to be Spurs. I'll tell you that for free. That's the last thing I want is to be Spurs. I think we just got to be patient for now. And I get that it's frustrating. We've got like FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. We just finished in the top four. We finished third, and we see Spurs battling for their lives in a relegation battle, and then they go and spend close to, if not more than, £200 million on players that we liked, and we're sort of sitting there like, sorry, that's what we're meant to be doing. How are Spurs more ambitious than us? How has Spurs got more money than us? Spurs have got to overspend a little bit, right? That's the only way they can get players in. If they want to be daft and throw that sort of amount of money at players, I guess let them be. They're going to get great footballers for it, but they are going to overspend. I think the club is hoping that sort of the attraction of Manchester United does a bit of the heavy lifting this summer. And we're just going to have to wait and see if that works. Because obviously at the moment, the way that we look at it, going into next season, we've got Edison in for Casemiro, who, compared to last season's starting 11, it's not really an upgrade, is it? Right now, he's more mobile. He's an upgrade in that way. He's a bit more box to box. But I think just, pure quality as a footballer, Casemiro is the better player. So at the moment, we haven't really strengthened. I'm sort of looking over here at the bench, the players that we've got over there. Yeah, the squad is very thin right now. It's incredibly thin. Let's just quickly actually get some of these geezers on the screen now. De Ligt's not going to be available from the start of the season. We're going to have to wait a little while for him. Ugarte now out as well with a horrific injury. Really hope that he gets better soon. We don't have Casemiro anymore. So at the moment, we're looking at squad depth. Is Xerxes going to stay? I don't know. There's not been too much news on outgoings at the moment, is there? Not really. At the moment, it feels like we go into next season, once De Ligt gets up to speed, looking like this. I don't think I'm missing any. Obviously, there's Marcus Rashford talks currently. Still trying to figure out whether to do a video on Rashford or not. They're not videos that tend to do particularly well. They can be videos which sort of attract the wrong type of response that we don't want in the comments. So we'll see. I'll figure that out as we go along. But certainly looking at that squad right now, yeah, if we started the season like this, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Of course we would. We're going to be playing more games and we've arguably got less players to choose from. So yeah, we absolutely need a lot more than what we've got currently. But I just don't think this will be the team come the start of the season. Maybe I'm being optimistic when I shouldn't be. But I just think we'll find more. I still think we'll sign 2 midfielders. 2 more after Edison. I hope. You guys know what I want this summer. I think I've made it abundantly clear. I want 3 central midfielders. I want a left winger and a left back. And if we had spare money at that point, I'd love to see a centre back. I think the centre back is pretty much done. It's impossible now because we can't get those extra funds from Ugarte. I think centre back, we're going to have to live with what we've got, which isn't ideal, but it's okay. We can't fix the club in one summer. So centre back will be addressed at another time. But get 3 midfielders total, so Edison and 2 more, then 2 players down the left, and I think United will be in a good place, to be honest. So I'm not panicking yet. That's what I'll say. I'm not panicking yet, but big emphasis on the word yet. I will crash out at some point this summer. It's inevitable. It's what this club does to us. Yeah, of course, we could see minutes for some of the youngsters as well. We've got Fletcher in here at the moment. Looks like he'll have a big role to play next season if we don't see sort of further progress. And yeah, maybe one of the younger wingers like Lacey or JJ Gabriel coming in. It's very possible. Steve Brooks, good morning to you, my friend. How are you? Ugarte looks like he won't be leaving this summer. Yeah, that looks like... Really feel sorry for Ugarte. Obviously, sort of for us as a club, it's quite frustrating because that's £15 million that we now won't get. But I think we've got to remove that for a second and remember that Ugarte is a human with his own dreams, his own ambitions, his own family and everything. So for Ugarte, it's bitterly disappointing. Hopefully he's got sort of good people around him to get him through what will be a tough year. Like I can't imagine, especially in a year when he probably was going to get a move after it not working at Manchester United. He'll go somewhere else and have that restart for his career. To get that injury at that time is really hard for him. Like I genuinely, on a very deep level, feel sorry for the fella, but we just hope he comes back stronger and then maybe in the future gets his move, but we don't know. Ugarte was never leaving. It was PR because fans don't like him. I genuinely don't think that's true. I think he would have been on his way out. I'm crashing out. It's not good enough. We can't be getting average players. We need elite talents. There are only so many of them available. I do agree with that. You've got to be careful. For example, some transfers block other transfers. Tonali. For example, I would have liked. Sorry, I didn't necessarily want Tonali, but I would have liked Bruno Guimaraes. Tonali now leaving makes Guimaraes look quite difficult. Not impossible, but it makes it look quite difficult because I can't imagine Newcastle will lose two big midfielders this summer. You've got to be careful that you don't get blocked. What if Camavinga leaves Real Madrid, so then Tchouaméni has to stay? Then what? What if eventually Bournemouth do manage to convince Alex Scott to sign that new contract and we can't get him? I guess my question to you guys would be, right here, right now, who do you want? Who do you fancy? Who do you want to see at the club this summer? Because we all had this dream of Anderson, but we always thought it was a little bit unlikely. And then if not Anderson, it was Matheus Fernandes. Now that's not going to happen. Who's your next one? Who do you want? Sort of like a realistic rebuild right now. You've got £250 million to spend. Let's throw that figure out there. Who do you want? Who would you like to see now? Now that sort of the main two are gone, who's your next one? Who do you want to see in his team? If De Ligt and Martinez stay fit for the whole season, yeah, we need them to. That's why I've been very keen for a centre-back, because we've got three what I would class as senior centre-backs, and they're all injury-prone, which is why I wanted a new one this summer. But I just don't think we're going to get that luxury now. Thoughts on Baleba? Yeah, nowhere near as bad last season as what people have made out. Still a top player. I think my thoughts on Baleba really depend on who the other midfielder would be with him. I think the way the market is going, I'd probably steer away from him just at the moment. I think. But he is still a very good footballer. I think people have really gone overboard on his poor performances. I think people read on Twitter that he didn't play very well last September and now think he's terrible. And I don't think that's accurate. So what I would say is, where possible, watch a player for yourself so you can get your own opinion on him. I think that's important. But Balaba's still a top player. He's still a player that is comfortably worth more than £60 million. He's a great individual. The problem is trying to get him from Brighton. They're nasty, aren't they? They're nasty to try and deal with. Just look at Chelsea over the years. They're a difficult team to negotiate with. I'd take Felix Metscher. Weren't the reports the other day that Dortmund would want 103 million for him, which to me is mental. Mental. Like, did they not see his last two games at the World Cup? And I love Metscher. I think he's quality. Really, really big fan of him. It's weird. This happens sometimes. We'll scout a player 12 months ago and people will go, not that fussed. And then we get linked to him this summer and 100 million fee is slapped on him and everyone's like, oh my God, go sign him. If you guys go back and watch our videos from last summer, he was in my rebuild that I wanted. I wanted Metscher. I wanted Antoine Semenyo last summer, Elliot Anderson, Matheus Fernandes. These were all players that we spoke about this time last year that are now getting their big moves. So it sometimes does pay to be ahead of the curve, which United probably aren't very often. We seem to always lag behind a little bit. But yeah, Felix Metscher is a quality player. I've got a bit of concern over his consistency. I wouldn't go anywhere near 100 million. That's mental. Like, it's a stupid fee. He's not worth that. Stylistically, if you want a comparison, think of Ryan Gravenberch, mixed with some of the flair of Paul Pogba at times, honestly, and the speed of the footwork. I think we did a Metscher video, right? 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we did look at him. So if you did miss that, make sure to go and check it out. And yes, as Steve and Son have pointed out, no all capital messages, please and thank you. I'd like to see a start on left back. Yeah, you and me both. I would like to see Lewis Hall. I just think it's doable. Go do it. Yeah, I think that the top level wingers, they do come about. Every couple of years that they come about and they appear. The left backs, I think, are harder to find, which is why whilst Hall is there and maybe gettable this summer, I'd go and do it. Walter Berger would also be a very interesting player. Yeah, he would. Again, just in terms of his level, he'd have been my third midfield signing. You know, the way that I see it is that United this summer should be spending 70 to 90 million pound on a midfielder and then doing the same on another midfielder and then spending 30 to 40 on a third choice one. Walter Berger would have fell in that third category for me personally. I don't think I would want him and Edison. Then one more. At that point, I would feel that it's lacking something a little bit. we're not willing to pay what is becoming the normal price. Yeah, and that is a concern. It's really tricky, I think, for this club to manage this because we've developed this reputation of overspending. And I think we are desperately, for the sake of long-term success, we're desperately trying to get rid of that reputation. We can't have clubs feeling that they can play us in the market. So we're trying to be stubborn. We're trying to hold our ground. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's becoming the norm. It's what you pay for players these days. You know, when we signed Pogba for what was it, £89 million, that was a lot of money. And that was out of nowhere. And that was a huge fee at the time for a player that was one of the best in the world. Now £89 million gets you a player who's had a good 18 months in the Premier League. You know, it's very, very different now what £89 million gets you. And we do have to get that balance right of, yeah, we're going to be resolute. We're not going to be played in the market. But also, actually, when we need to get the players that we want, we'll get the cash out and we'll buy them. And it's a difficult balance. I'm glad I'm not the one doing it. I'll put it like that. I'm glad it's not me responsible for trying to make the decisions on how much should be spent on these players. I would not like to be a part of those negotiations whatsoever. Are we not getting Scott or Tchouaméni? Yes, those are the rumours. That's what Fabrizio Romano was speaking about last night. I have got a video lined up on those two and why I think they can actually work quite well together. So yeah, that video is on the way tonight, I believe. Great way of putting it. Because everyone is insane, are you also going to be insane? Exactly. Exactly. To an extent, you've got to be a little bit, but you can't go too far with it. You can't just do it because everyone else is. But at the same time, you do risk being left behind. And I think that is a fear that us fans have got, probably more than the club. Morning, AJ. What about Buwadi? Yeah, really like him. Again, we have done a video on him since the start of the World Cup. One of the first nights of the tournament. He played really well against Brazil. So we did cover that game. Yeah, good player. I think Tchouaméni is a must now, but a succession plan for the 18-year-old. Similar with Yoro. Would be smart, no? He's technical, defensive-minded, and has the height. Yeah, Buwadi's a really good player. Tchouaméni would now be my must-sign player. If I was to put one name forward this summer, it would be Tchouaméni. But yeah, Buwadi would be a nice alternative. I just think he's probably going to cost a bit too much for someone that is potential. And we're probably in the midfield in a place where they've got to be guaranteed hits. So I don't think we'll do it this summer. Any legs to the Maxi Araujo links? No idea. I haven't actually seen anything on it, to be honest. United ain't getting anyone else. It will only be Baleba. Isaac, maybe, but I think, respectfully, I think you're wrong. I would be amazed if United only signed 2 players this summer. I'd be willing to bet a fair amount of money that will not be the case. But we'll wait and see, won't we? We'll wait and see. Thoughts on Rashford? Yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Do we have Rashford on the bench up here? Is he there? Don't think he is. Yeah, thoughts on Rashford? Because, you know, people these days seem to talk a lot about a soft launch and how you see United sort of tweeting MR11 and stuff regarding Rashford. Are they sort of teasing the idea of him coming back to the club, trying to get a feel, see what the fans' response is? Possibly. What do you think? Marcus Rashford back to Manchester United. What are your thoughts? In terms of the quality of player, where he's at mentally, fan response, profile, what do you think? I'll let you guys have your say in the chat and I'll come back to it. If Xerxes stays as the backup striker, is that the end of the world? Don't think it is. It seems to have gone a bit quiet on Xerxes. Sort of towards the end of the season, it felt like we were getting a lot of talks that once the season ends, he's going to be off. Not seen it yet. Not seen that at all yet. So, not sure what's going on there. I think Dorgu will be better on the wing. Yeah, I've said it a few times. I think Dorgu's in a place where he's got to figure out what he's going to be next. Is he going to be a fullback or is he going to be a winger? For United, I think he'll struggle to ever quite make it as like the guaranteed starter for the team. But I think he's a great versatile asset for us. He's a great squad player, Dorgu is, for sure. There is no chance we sign 2 players with Ugarte out and Casemiro leaving. Yeah, it's just there is no world where we only sign 2 players. I don't see it personally. I'll just leave those Rashford comments stewing for one moment. I'll come back to them. Let you guys keep getting your talks in. Mazraoui's a better left back than Shaw. He's had a good World Cup so far. Mazraoui playing really well. Let's be real, we aren't getting Tchouaméni. I think it's possible. I think that's one to keep an eye on towards the end of the summer. I have no inside source or inside knowledge or anything like that. So don't, everything I say is just a vibe, I guess. I'd keep an eye on Tchouaméni. Keep an eye on that one. Buwadi will go to PSG or something like that. Yeah, that's what you can see for sure. We're in massive trouble if we only get Baleba now. Yeah, we absolutely would be, but I don't think it would be the case. Xerxes got Juventus links in Italy. Yes, I saw them towards the end of the season, but I haven't seen them since, really. Perhaps that's just me being ignorant and missing it, though. Yeah, it's a fair point. United might wait for January again if Rashford stays. Yeah, January market is something that we can use as well as part of the rebuild. We'd be lucky to finish 8th with this current roster. Yeah, I mean, the teams around us feel like they're strengthening in a moment where we're not, right? But I do think it's too early to gauge. I mean, what have Liverpool done? What have Liverpool done? Change manager? They haven't signed anyone, have they yet? Have they? Am I missing someone obvious? I don't think they have. Arsenal, have they done any business yet? I don't think so. Chelsea, have they got a big name in? Obviously, they changed the manager, but have they got a big name in? Don't think so. Spurs have obviously made moves. City going for Elliot Anderson, but losing Pep Guardiola, which we've got to remember is quite a big loss. Have Villa massively strengthened yet? I don't think so. Newcastle, have they gone out and done a lot? Not really. The window's just started. It's just started. We just finished 3rd, right? Like, this isn't a horrific team that needs ripping up and starting again. Just add some players to it, we'll be all right. And everyone's going to take time to do that. Liverpool signed Isak. Yeah, what a signing that turned out to be, eh? We've made some good wildcard moves lately. Lomans, for example, so I'm not too worried. Yeah, it's about getting that mixture, isn't it? It's about getting those stars in who are ready now to play at a top level in the Champions League, but then also finding those cheaper ones who can come in and out of the team. And I think those signings almost excite us a little bit more, don't they? Because you don't quite know what to expect. They catch you off guard a bit more, which is a lot of fun. Liverpool, Munoz and Jacket. Yeah, of course, Jacket they secured ages ago. I wouldn't say that's been a summer signing, but yeah, Munoz is a fair point. I actually know nothing about him, to be honest. Literally nothing. I'm very ignorant on that front. But yeah, with regards to the other teams, you'll see linked in the chat, those of you that are just joining, there's a pinned comment saying, a pinned comment for the AJ Talks Tactics channel. It's our second channel where we cover football outside of Manchester United. So we discuss the World Cup at the moment. But then in the summer, we will look at how Spurs are going to play next year. City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. So if you do enjoy that sort of content, check out that pinned comment and head over there and get involved because it's good fun. It's a bit of like a side hustle hobby at the moment, but hopefully it can grow into something that maybe one day rivals this channel, which would be a lot of fun. Hey bro, do you ever remove your cap? No. Never. It's attached. It is attached and it never leaves. I try not to wear it too much outside of videos, to be honest, but it's just easy to. Bad hair day, hat on. Kieran with a 13-month membership. What a bloody flex on the chat that is. Thank you very much. United to not sign anyone just for the head loss. Honestly, I would rate it at that point. I'd rate it. If they just go, lol, let's piss everyone off and not sign anyone, you'd kind of have to appreciate it. You'd go, yeah, fair play. But thank you very much for the membership. And we got Steve with the 5 gifted membership. Steve, thank you very much. You are an absolute legend. And I really do appreciate those gifted memberships. Guys, you know what to do. You see a gifted membership, you see a renewal of membership, anything like that. Make sure to get some love hearts in the chat. Just like Sudden has done there. Show our love, show our appreciation to these people that support the channel. Thank you very much to you both. Do appreciate it. Subscribe to the second channel as well. I love you for that. Thank you very much. Like I said, I would like that second channel to grow in size over the next 12 months. It's what I'm working on. He has a Minnie Mouse wanting to take over the World Cup, take over the world under his cap. His name is Brain. I mean, I can neither confirm nor deny this. Assuming we sign Tchouaméni, maybe we convert Licha to a defensive midfielder like for Ajax. Makeshift option for the season, but it means we're not spending money on lower level targets. Also means a new reliable left centre back. Yeah, I mean, there's also Shaw who can be moved in terms of his position. He can cover a couple of roles. We've got a lot of versatile players, which is handy. Bruno can play everywhere. Cobby can go higher or lower. We've got wingers that can play up front. That versatility will be big for us. Oh my god, Kieran has followed it up with 10 gifted memberships. Kieran, thank you very much. He then said he got to go back to work, but much love. Kieran, thank you very much. Hope you're enjoying the World Cup. Are you staying up for the England-Mexico game? Sunday night, Monday morning. I bet you are. I bet you are. I know I am. But thank you very much for the gifted memberships. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friend. And have a bloody splendid weekend. Thank you very much for the support. And by the way, if you did get gifted a membership, you got to say thanks. Surely. That's literally someone spending money on you. So yeah, make sure to say thank you. I'm okay with experimental, risky signings, just not at holding midfielder. It's do or die. Yeah, I think that's fair. We made a comment last summer, sort of related to this summer as well. Last year, we went on the forwards, particularly in Bumo and Cunha, sort of the guaranteed hitters. And once you've got those guaranteed hitters in, you raise your floor, you raise your level. That's when you can then gamble. So because we've got this world-class left winger in Cunha, this world-class right-sided player in Mbumo, this year, if we were signing a forward, we can probably gamble a little bit. Maybe someone cheaper who might have some potential. We can make that gamble. At the moment in midfield, I feel like we are experiencing last summer, where this summer in midfield, it's got to be the big hitters. You've got to get it right. You've got to get it guaranteed. Then next year, we could afford a gamble on someone. That's how I see it at the moment. Try not to sneeze challenge, difficulty impossible. It's there somewhere. It'll be good. I think we're good. And actually, I blame David, mate. David, I think I am allergic to you because I have been fine. And then I see you pop up with a gifted membership and suddenly I want to sneeze. But thank you very much, David, for that gifted membership. It's great to see you, my friend. I've missed streaming and just catching up with everybody. Really, really missed it. David, thank you very much for the gifted memberships. And guys, you know what to do. Love hearts, just spammed in that chat. Spammed in that chat to say thank you. We don't have the luxury of experimental signings. We have to nail all the transfers. Yeah, certainly in midfield we do right now. I do think right now you could experiment with one of the wingers. You know, there's talks of like someone like Somerville, a little bit cheaper. I think we can do that. Because if it doesn't work, at the end of the day, we've still got elite quality there already, and we can sell and try again. Last summer, we couldn't have done that. And it's the same for the midfield. This year, we've got to get it close to guaranteed, which is difficult to do. And then maybe next year we can gamble. That's where I stand. Tchouaméni is a must. Yeah, I mean, I had 4 players coming into the window where I thought we've got to see one of them. All right, the 4, probably in this order, would be Elliot Anderson, Bruno Guimaraes, Tchouaméni, Mateus Fernandes. They were the 4, which for me, I would have loved 2 of them. I'd done anything for 2 of them, but we've got to get one of them in because they're guaranteed going to improve our midfield. Obviously, Fernandes and Anderson are gone. Guimaraes feels unlikely just with the Tonali move, so that does leave Tchouaméni, which is difficult. But who knows? If we don't get one of those 4, then I might crash out. Then you might see me crash out. And for those that saying Tchouaméni doesn't want to leave and everything like that, I don't know how we know that, right? All the talks that we've heard is that United are interested. It's difficult financially. And now we're hearing that Madrid perhaps would just open the door. I think the wages would be the big sticking point. I think that'd be the big sticking point. Is Bruno G gettable? Probably not now with Tonali going to Spurs, which is why I think we had to act quick there. With sort of like a 70, 75 million bid. Go in early, get it done. Too late now, probably. Lewis Hall would be difficult as well because of the sales of Gordon and Tonali. Yeah, the one which is perhaps different with Hall is I think he would push for the move a little bit more, which always forces a club to move. Newcastle don't want an asset who doesn't want to be there. That's difficult to work with for another year. You know, the relationship between Hall and Howell seems to have crumbled a little bit. Hall, if I'm Lewis Hall sitting there thinking I didn't play towards the end of the season and then didn't get my World Cup call-up, Trevor Chalobah went ahead of me, I'd be fuming. And I'd be thinking, get me out of here. I want to go play football for a manager that knows how good I am. And I'm going to get in that Euro squad. So I think Hall would probably push a move a little bit more. Whereas Guimaraes seems to be in love with Newcastle. So I don't think he would. So I do think Hall is... I think it's a viable one. I think it's doable. AJ, I know you've made videos, but could you summarise why Alex Scott is a good option? He seems a worse version of Cobby, who again isn't good enough defensively. Surely a proper 6 takes priority. A proper 6 probably takes priority, but I don't think it's got to be the only signing that we make. I think when we see the market every year, the transfer window, the order that you sign players isn't necessarily the order that you prioritise them. It's just the order that you can get them. So, yes, I would still prioritise a Tchouaméni over a Scott. But I do think Scott would bring a lot to us. I think, first of all, we've got to make it clear Kobbie Mainoo is good defensively. He's a better ball-winning midfielder than what Casemiro was. Kobbie did a lot of Casemiro's heavy lifting last season. Just because he's not quick, people think that means he's poor, but he's very intelligent with the way that he works defensively. Scott is quite similar, but with the extra physical attributes. Scott would be an upgrade defensively over Casemiro, Mainoo, and Ugarte. Scott would be an upgrade on all of those. In terms of on the ball, yes, the profile is quite similar to Kobbie. Perhaps a little bit taller, a little bit longer in the leg, which sometimes opens up some different options for you and can carry over the distances perhaps a little bit better. But it's also not a bad thing to have two players that are quite similar because, you know, last season we thought Kobbie comes out of the team because he's injured. Oh, we're screwed. Right, so it doesn't hurt to have someone who's a similar profile. He wouldn't have been my first choice. Scott, I would have gone Mateus Fernandes over him, certainly at that price point. But I think Scott can offer a lot to this team. A lot to this team. And that will be covered a little bit in a video later. Why Scott and Tchouaméni can still be an amazing summer for United and be really good recruitment. Oh yeah, we never went back to the Rashford conversation, did we? I said I would leave it for you guys to chat about it and just never went back to it. Let me scroll up. Let's have a look. Rashford's fine, but he's not a starter. Impact sub only. Now the ship has sailed for him. Rashford should leave, in my opinion. Rashford would make it possible to play Cunha as a striker if we needed to sometimes. Yeah, I do picture a world, right? Cunha up front and Boomer and Rashford either side. Sounds a lot of fun. Problems with Rashford. Lack of pressing, wages, and our reputation takes a hit because keeping him wasn't a plan. I think it would look awful on INEOS, I'll say that much. Rashford is good for 6 games a season, get rid. At the moment, we've got no choice but to keep Rashford. Plus, the British quarter is getting really low. I'm undecided on Rashford. I love Rashford. I'm one of his biggest fans. I think he's such a good player. I think he's everything that we want at United. You know, this player coming through the academy, making it to the big time, scoring an insane amount of goals for this club. You know, I think his Premier League record, isn't he in the top 10 for United Premier League goal scorers? Something like that, which is absurd. Living the dream. But I think the ship has sailed. I think he's a good enough player to stay. You know, I think if we wanted to buy Rashford's quality in the market, you're looking 50 million plus. Whereas if we keep him, it's free, apart from his wages. So financially, it makes sense to keep Rashford rather than signing someone new. The profile, it works. I think he's got the explosive pace that we need. He can dribble 1v1 that we need. But I think as much as anything, he's got the creativity that we need. You know, he is someone who can find that pass from deep on the left. We saw that for England against Panama. You can't replace him at a price that we can afford with Rashford. But, that great word, B-U-T, but. I think the ship has sailed, and I just think the second he plays 10 minutes slightly poorly, or he lets a fullback run off him and he overlaps and puts the ball into the box and they score, I think Rashford will be getting absolute pelters. I think if I was him, I'd just be avoiding United, I'd be avoiding English media and staying well away somewhere sunny. That's what I would be doing if I was Rashford. What will happen? I get the feeling he might stay. which I wouldn't be mad at. I'm just scared of it going wrong, to be honest. But hey, nothing wrong with a bit of fear. Nothing wrong with that. FP, good morning to you, my friend. How are you doing? And Simon, good morning to you as well. You both been watching the World Cup? FP, I know you've been pretty darn active in the Discord with the World Cup updates. It's good, innit? You can't beat it. I love the World Cup. Absolutely love it. Metro reported 103 million euros is an insane price. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't go above 65 personally, even though I think he's a good player. Really like him. I just think if you're spending 100 million, you've got to guarantee that you're going to get that consistency. You can't be a hit and miss player. And I think Metro is. So that's my problem. Scott is not good enough. We need a midfielder, and I still think that. Yeah, I think we still need two midfielders, to be honest. That's my opinion, after Edison. I do think Scott is good enough. He's maybe not the level of some of the others, right? But the way that I would put this to you is, this time last year, rewind 12 months, and I say to you, we're going to sign Anderson for 65 mil, or we're going to sign Mateus Fernandes for 65 mil. I think you'd tell me in no uncertain terms to do one, wouldn't you? This time last year. Players develop quickly. Scott's a very good player, and he's not just burst onto the scene out of nowhere. People have known about him for a while, since his Bristol days. He's a good player. He is a very good player, Scott. He can impact this Manchester United team and bring a lot that we don't currently possess. He isn't the one that I would have picked at the start of the window. Of course he's not. I think I've made that quite clear. But I think it would be wrong to go, nah, he's not good enough. I think that would be a little bit unfair on him. I think he's a good player. Good player. Imagine Rashford coming back to United as a World Cup winner. It could reset things, or am I dreaming? Dreaming is free, my friend. And who knows, dreams sometimes do come true. Can England win the World Cup this summer? Yes, I still think they can. People are going to laugh at me and call me delusional. I actually just don't care, to be honest. The question is, can they? And the answer is yes. Will they? I don't know. I'm just watching it. I'm just watching it as it goes and enjoying it. We've had 3 sagas over. Anderson, Fernandes, and Tonali. What's next? Hopefully a successful one. Hopefully one which ends up with a top player at United. That would be lovely. That would be lovely. Yeah, Manzambi, nice talent. Really good talent. Scott is a bit too old for a big leap. You get what you sign. Yeah, how old is Alex Scott? I'm sure he played for the England under-21s last summer, but the rules with that are a bit weird, aren't they? It's like you've got to be 21 at a certain point. I mean, Alex Scott is 22 years. 22 years old. I think he looks a lot older than that. Sort of like, because of his size and everything, I think you sort of watch him and think he's 25, 26. He's 22. He's 22. Like, how old's Kobe right now? How old is Kobe Mainu? And you think like the development that's still to come from Kobe. Kobe's 21. It's alright, isn't it? England will either get knocked out straight away now or win. Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? It's a big one on Sunday night. Win that. Beat Mexico in that game. I think you can beat anyone, is how I see it. What about Wharton? Yeah, I haven't heard anything on Wharton for a long time, to be honest. What's going to happen with Wharton? I don't know what sort of fee Palace would demand. I don't know how annoying they would be to negotiate with and to try and break a deal with. Is Wharton what we need? A left footer that can pass. I love it. I do love it. I don't know how it fits with what we've got. That's my problem. But right, let me throw a hypothetical into the world for you. Let's just get these bloody centre backs off the screen. Get out. I don't want you, mate. Get out of it. Let's get these guys out of my bloody face, right? And let's just have a chat quickly about the midfield and what could be going on in here. If we slide Chouameni in there, and then we go Wharton, who I'm not even necessarily saying that I want necessarily. My keyboard is in Australia, so bloody far away. It's good, doesn't it? Does have a lot of what you want. Has a lot of what you want in there. You've got height, you've got ball winning, you've got players that can go into those wide 3v3s, you've got passing, you've got left foot, you've got right foot, you've got creativity, you've got energy, you've got dribbling, you've got carrying. He's quite nice. It's quite nice. Yeah, Onana is back off out on loan. That's my preference. Wharton, Sherman. It's a nice duo, isn't it? It's nice. You can imagine those two actually alongside each other playing really well. I just don't know how many other duos end up nice. You know, I think if you sign Scott and Sherman, I think you can put them with pretty much anyone. You can make any duo and it works. Wharton probably isn't the same. But it's not creativity we lack, it's control and organisation, don't you think? Um, I don't know. I think there is a little bit of creativity we're lacking as well. I think we do lack that block breaking action a lot of the time. The player that's going to take responsibility. Right? You think the amount of forward passes that Casemiro would play last season, it would actually be really big for us. Wharton would be even better at that. You know, we are losing something there. Having someone like Wharton bringing it, and again, the fact that he's left-footed does a lot for me. That does a hell of a lot for me. It's why I'd still like Camavinga in it, to be honest. But I know people don't like that shout. Yeah, I think we are still lacking a bit of creativity because when I actually look at our final forward line, let's imagine Bruno bursts forward, Cobby bursts forward. As a front five, that doesn't scream creativity to me, to tell the truth. Obviously, Bruno and the others have it in moments, but I'm not sure they're reliable with it. Wharton's, FP said he's a proper passer. He's a proper passer. He's probably not your sideways one. Do we need a sideways one? I don't know. Just looking at the way football's going at the moment, do you need that player who gets it and plays it sideways for 70% of the ball? I don't know. If you do, it's not Wharton. He is someone who's always going to fire forward quite quickly. I think about the best moments under Carrick towards the end of last season. It came when we were moving forward quicker. Something to think about. Something to think about. And obviously, as a young player, he could sort of have it coached into him to sort of pick his moments a little bit better. That is something that could happen for him. Hi AJ, thoughts on some cheaper midfield alternatives? Yeah, I mean, before I go through the players, it's difficult, isn't it? Because I think any time we get linked with a cheaper midfielder, this year it's easy to go. He's nice as the third choice one. That's like the catchphrase for this summer. It's the buzzword. But you can only have so many of them, right? If we were to sign Edison, if we went out and signed three £30 million midfielders, there's a chance we're getting incredible quality, but it is a bit of a gamble. I do think they're good. Out of the ones that you've listed, the only ones that I've watched are Kamara, Sangare, and Manzambi. I think they're all high quality players. I think they'll all be playing Champions League football in the next 2 years, to be honest, sort of regularly and dominating games. Can we do that right now? Can we take the risk? Can we gamble? Is it a gamble? Or do we just have this subconscious thought that if it's not Premier League, it's a gamble? Is Manzambi any more of a gamble than what Scott is at half the price? Don't know. How do you feel about Amadou Onana? Maybe that is a deal we could explore. Yeah, he sort of struggled to kick on at Villa. I think the last 12 months he's been in and out of the team. Still think he's great. I really like him. Again, I would say he's another one, though, where if we've got Edison, I don't know that we also need Onana. I think we can get something different, adding a bit more technical to the team. Although I do think that has always been an underappreciated side of Onana's game. I think his long passing, things like that, is actually quite good. Yeah, he's had his injury problems, hasn't he? I think it's probably a no for this summer, unless it was to become sort of like an opportunistic one where he's really cheap. What sort of role would you see Alex Scott play? I think it would be quite similar to Cobby. I don't think we would see them together that often. Naturally, there'd be times where you see it, but I think it's sort of that connecting role where sometimes he's going to play inside the block. So, he's sort of surrounded by the opposition players. You're going to play someone like Scott in these zones because he can take the ball on the back foot and sort of be that link. So you're in here, the ball's with Tchouameni, you want to get it to Sesko, where you're going to use Scott to make sure that you can get there. It's that sort of job. That's the sort of player he is. He is, though, also really good in these little situations. I really like him in these moments. Sort of his control, his tempo, I think is quite good. He's got the legs that he can go on an underlap or an overlap as well. That's where I would see him being at his best. I don't think he's someone who scores loads of goals or creates loads of chances, A bit like Cobby, who was amazing second half of last season. He is this great link point. Big up AJ. What do you think of us potentially going for Manu Kone? Oh, Christ, I just kicked my desk. Yeah, Kone would be a great one for me personally. He's one of the first players that I sort of followed when we started this channel 5 years ago. When he was playing for Gladbach in the Bundesliga, he was someone that I watched a lot of. I got to be honest, I haven't watched enough of him in the last 12 months, 18 months, maybe a little bit longer. There was an under-21 international tournament where he was phenomenal, absolutely incredible for France. He's a great player. Yeah, I haven't followed his progress enough in the last 18 months, but I wanted him, yeah, probably like 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, something like that. I really wanted him, so I would have to watch more of him now. But yeah, it'd be quite a fun one to see. Have a feeling Baleba might be one of the central midfielders we will sign. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Chouameni and Guimaraes feels unrealistic at this point. Yeah, I think Guimaraes is now out of reach with the Tonali news. I think that pushes that one away from us. I will still say Chouameni. Apologies. I will still say Chouameni. Still yawning. Now my eyes are watering. Keep an eye on the Chouameni one. Just keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it, because Madrid are a side that can't fail, and they've failed for 2 years. They won't be afraid of changing that squad, getting new players in, spending money. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. You know, he strikes me as the sort of player that Mourinho would want to keep. There is still the Tchouaméni Valverde thing. God, we didn't get to see that at the World Cup. Yeah. Just keep an eye. How would you feel if the two signings are Tchouaméni and Sander Berge? Love Sander Berge. Again, I think he's someone that we could have gone for as an Ugarte alternative a couple of summers back. I put his name forward then. Nah, not now though. Not now. Good player, absolutely. But we're trying to move a needle here. We're trying to get a little bit of quality in this team. You know, I'm all for the physicality. I'm all for the workmen in midfield, the ones that cover a lot of ground and get stuck into tackles. Love it. But come on, give me some players that are going to come play football. Right, they're going to get the ball down. They're going to take it under pressure. They're going to change the tempo. They're going to change the angle, change the momentum. They're going to punch a ball through the lines. They're going to take someone on. Give me those guys. Give me those guys. A couple of them, please. That's all I want. We are in no worse a position if Rashford does not play well, as we've got Cunha. It is very different now. I do agree. That's why the forward signings were handy last year. It's why they were handy, because they sort of lift the floor of the team, so we can afford to get it wrong a little bit here and there with others. You think before it was Rashford and Garnacho. So in Garnacho, you got a very young raw player, so Rashford had to be the main one. That wouldn't be the case anymore. That would be Cunha now, so the pressure would be different. Bum, 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 bum. If Rashford comes back, it's like going back with your ex, just move on. Yeah, I think it's a bad look for INEOS, to be honest, because we tried to push him out. Yeah, it is a bit like getting back with your ex. Don't do it. Don't do it. United need to show some balls. Tchouaméni, Barrios, Scott. Yeah, I just don't see us signing 4 midfielders, and it looks like Edison will come in. But I'd like 2 others, please and thank you. Does Cobby actually offer you more higher up the pitch than he does in the first and the second phase? And if so, should we maybe prioritise an energetic box-to-box midfielder with more of a goal threat? Yeah, I like... That's the great thing about Cobby, right? I love him everywhere. I love him over here, I love him here, I love him here. I think he's great. I would like to see a bit more growth of his role over here. Next season, I'd like to see a bit more of that. I think he can really influence the play, which is where like a Tchouaméni signing would be exciting, because you can picture him as sort of the deeper one, holding, protecting, and then Cobby going a bit more. I'd quite like to see that. I think he's really got us sort of something to offer. From all the centre mid players involved in this World Cup, which midfielder would you sign? I assume you don't mean like an obvious one like Tchouaméni. Sort of one of the cheaper, lesser known ones. Fire some names at me to refresh my brain. I've watched too much football. I don't know what's going on anymore. Who is there? Kamara featured, didn't he? But didn't do a lot. Manzambi. Bawadi. Who are the other sort of slightly younger or slightly lesser known midfielders who have played well at the World Cup? Refresh my brain. I need some help. I implore you all to watch more of Jim Thwaites. Thwaites? Yes, I will be doing a video on Thwaites at some point for sure. I'm hoping we might see him a bit in pre-season, and I can do a video off the back of that is my hope. Ureggi, yeah, I actually didn't get to see an awful lot of him. I thought he looked bright in the games that I saw, but I didn't exactly watch with like an analytical eye on. Is Tchouaméni really 90 million euros? I mean, yeah, it's the numbers that have been reported this morning, isn't it? Fabrizio said last night that Scott and Tchouaméni are the ones that we're now looking at. I think Tchouaméni is going to be a waiting game. We'll see what happens later on in the summer. See who Madrid signs, see who becomes available. It's a sort of like watch this space sort of one. Yeah, Bouadi would be lovely. I do like him. Big fan of him. I'm yawning again. I do apologise. Is Bouadi a bit too similar to Mainu? Defensively, very different player. I think that's the big difference. But I probably wouldn't love them in a double pivot immediately, though. I think that's correct. We should look at Nathan Ducat, 6'4" version of Adam Wharton, bags of potential. That's a name for me to look into, for sure. I want a 20-goal minimum season from Sesko in all competitions. I think he can really push on. Yeah, I mean, you would have heard me. Was that Steve that said that? Steve Brooks? Yeah. You'd have heard me quite a lot last season saying that I thought his development was almost going perfectly last year. And I sort of stand by that. So, yeah. Looking forward to it. Do you think no Enzo Fernandez to Madrid affects Tchouaméni interest? Probably not our interest. It might affect the likelihood of the move. I mean, we always hear that Madrid are interested in Rodri. We always hear that. Is there legs to that? Could that happen at some point? Again, that's where you got to wait till after the World Cup for some of these moves. If Rodri was to go to Madrid, that suddenly opens up, doesn't it? So, and there's others that Madrid have been linked with this summer. And like I said, Madrid will want change. They'll demand change. They've gone 2 years without winning a trophy. They've got to win. They're Real Madrid. They've got to win the big stuff. They're not going to change Mbappe, Vinicius, Jude, Valverde. So they've got to change somewhere. Tchouaméni is one where they can go. After the midfield, where do you think we should focus on? It's got to be here for me. This area. Lewis Hall, please and thank you. Yep, tick, done. I would still like a proper dribbly winger wide on the left-hand side. Doing both might be quite difficult. We can't play the waiting game because we need our new players in pre-season. Yeah, that's the world of football. It's the world of football. Again, who have Arsenal signed this summer? I know they won the Premier League, so they can afford to be a bit more patient. But, you know, they haven't grown yet this summer. It takes time. It's difficult to do business in a World Cup year. We all know that. Let's not pretend this is some new idea. We know that is the case. So there is a bit of a waiting game to be played. That is the case, unfortunately. There's nothing we can do about it. Obviously, there's some players which aren't at the World Cup, which is where like Mateus Fernandes would have been a nice one, because like Spurs have now done, we could have got him early. Same with Tonali, for example. That's where Alex Scott could be a more feasible one for us to do if we were to want to. Because he's not at the World Cup, you might be able to go and get him. Don't know. Our first 6 games are fairly easy. We need a fast start. Yeah, at some point we should probably go through those fixtures. It starts with Hull, doesn't it? But yeah, at some point we should go through those fixtures and take a look at what might happen at the start of the campaign. We'll do that closer to the season starting. By this time last year, the feeling was that we had a clear transfer strategy. I'm not seeing one this year. It feels like we're back to hit and hope. We need a statement to attract other players. 3rd of July. What had we done this time last year? Cunha was in. Was anyone else actually in yet? Was anyone else actually through the door at this stage last year? I know when Mbumo talks had definitely started. We'd sort of had that first Ornstein. Keep an eye on Mbumo. But is that it? No one else was actually in the door? Am I correct in saying that? It did feel more clear about who we wanted, though, for sure. For sure. Just think the pressure for Buwadi would be too much. Yeah, it's a lot of money on a potential player, more than a ready-made player. Yeah, Balaba's another one that could be a bit of a tap-in if we want to do that move. The cost will be the sticking point. I do apologise. The cost will be a sticking point, but yeah. Got my eyes watering, shining. A year ago, I said we should get Buwadi and Lamine Kamara. They're still the best midfielders we could get. Quality and youth. Yeah, very good players. I agree, Border, that I think we need a centre-back as well. I just don't think it will happen. 3 midfielders, 1 or 2 wide left players. I don't then see us signing, number 6 to play the centre-back position. So I think we're going to have to wait a year for that. Arsenal bid for Bruno Guimaraes during the World Cup. Could United do the same? Yeah, there is a fear the ship has sailed with Tonali getting his move. But who knows? Who knows? We don't know how audacious and ambitious these players are. I'm scared that we would go for cheap Premier League options, not out of liking them, but out of price. Someone like Tyler Adams. Yeah, I have that fear a little bit, for sure. For sure. I see him signing Baleba, ticks all the boxes, wants the club and wages already agreed. Yeah, I could see that signing happening if we can't get the ones that we want. For example, if we get the news from Madrid, like, you're not having Chouameni, it's just not happening, look elsewhere, I could then see us going for Baleba. I don't rate this backline, I'm sorry. Yeah, I tend to agree, to be honest. Certainly in the long term, it's not a back four that's going to win the league. I just don't think we've got the opportunity, the money to address it this year. I would love us to. You can go back to videos in January. I want a centre-back, but I think we'll struggle too much to get it done. Carrick's setup was fairly passive out of possession last season. Do you think that was more because of the centre-back profiles or the midfield profiles? That's a great question. I agree with the passive setup. I agree that I think it can change this year. Not to sit on the fence, I do think it was probably both, the midfield and the defence. Probably the midfield more than anything, though, because of the distances that are required to be covered. And that's where people like Scott, Chouameni, Edison certainly would help us a lot in that regard. Even the Hall news is gone now. Yeah, I mean, the last thing I heard was that we're not interested in Hall, which that seems like a lie to me. I just don't believe that. To be honest, what is actually INEOS' game plan here? I don't know. No idea. Absolutely no idea. But I didn't know last year either. I know that we want to sign players ideally that want the club, but I don't think we can rely on that. I think we've got to be careful there. Heaven and Yoro need to push on. They absolutely do. We're going to do some streams as we head through the summer towards the start of next season, where we'll assess what we've got. We'll go through the centre-backs, rate them on different things, how we're feeling about them. Same for fullbacks, midfielders, forwards, left side, middle, right side. We're going to do lots of different videos on United's setup going into next season, especially when we've got some knowledge from pre-season as well. When we get an idea of if Carrick's tactics have changed, he might go for a completely new idea. So we'll get a greater understanding towards the end of this month now. Would you rather we sign a 6 or an all-action 8 midfielder? It really depends on the player. I personally probably prefer an all-action 8, but now a couple of the ones that I wanted look unrealistic. I'd probably go for the 6 and go Chouameni. So it does depend on the individual. Crazy how we went from being interested in Hall a month ago to now we only want to sign a backup left back next season. The board has lost it. Just don't believe everything you read would be my shout on that. If we were interested a month ago, we're still interested. If we're not interested, we weren't interested a month ago, is how I personally see it at this stage in the window. Anyway, I've just seen what the time is, and whilst I am loving this stream and loving chatting, and it's great to see so many messages, I got to work. I got to go make sure I sort out today's video, and then I got to sort out videos for the weekend as well, and maybe prep some World Cup coverage stuff. And also, I am still working on some football shirts to be created for when we hit 100,000 subscribers. We're working with a design team on that. Quite pleased with how it's coming along, so I need to continue working forward on that because we are getting close to 100k. I think end of July, maybe mid-August, we might be there. So yeah, unfortunately, I do have to head off. But before we go, I do have to say a massive thank you to everyone that has joined in. It's been too long since we did a proper stream. As I said, life has been busy. I've been away a couple of times. World Cup's been busy. Things happen in the world as well. So I haven't really had the spare time to do this. I don't really make much money off these streams, to be honest. These are done as more of like a side thing for you guys. So I'm sorry that I haven't been able to do that recently. But the intention now is to sort of knuckle down again and try and do 2 streams a week. I can't always guarantee the time because of the World Cup. Like if I'm covering a World Cup game from the night before, sometimes I don't finish making that till lunchtime. So I then don't have the chance to stream. But I would like to get back to 2 streams a week. That is my plan now for the rest of summer. And then, of course, next season. So that is the plan. Naturally, there'll be a spanner in the works here and there. But yes, the intention is to get back on it, back on the United content more frequently. Hopefully, and I'm sure you'll all agree, hopefully the club actually sort of pull their finger out and do something. Like, so we've got some content to talk about. That'd be lovely. That'd be great, please and thank you. And yes, the second channel content, the World Cup, is going to be continuing. Not sure if we'll see a video on that over the weekend. The games aren't amazing over the next couple of days, to be honest, at the World Cup. But I'm still absolutely loving it. And if you do want to see that content, head to the AJ Talks Tactics channel, which has been kindly pinned in the chat down below. But yeah, apart from that, we are now finished. So thank you very much for getting involved. Thank you for waffling along. I feel like we've had a really good session there where we've just caught up, got our feelings out there about the transfer market and where we head now. We could probably do this exact same stream on Tuesday and have the conversation again. We'll see where the world takes us, where United take us. But yeah, for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you if you got your notifications on, if you're following the other channel as well, if you've gifted memberships, if you've renewed memberships, donated, anything like that. I really, really do appreciate it. We're now back on track. We're now going forward. So yeah, that is the plan. I'll see you tonight for another video. Hopefully 2 videos on the main channel over the weekend. Maybe a World Cup one, we shall see. But then streams again next week. So basically, long story short, I will see you all very, very soon.